Hey guys, Mike here. So another crazy day in the market, and boy, we had some data come out that obviously affected, what was going on today with the swings and stuff to set us up for tomorrow. Obviously, CPI came in line, right? So that was okay, and then the market sold off because of that. Could it be a liquidity grab, right, to set up the move? What was the other thing? We had the 30-year bond auction at 1 p.m. You might have noticed a move up after that because it actually went okay, right? Better than expected. There you go. So what happens? Yields drop, and tech especially moves higher. Of course, now we're going into FOMC tomorrow. We'll have more inflation data coming out, pre-market as well. We'll get into all of that. But I'm going to go in this video some stuff that fintech stocks are doing. You might notice this, by the way, something that happened to Tesla today, something that happened to Google. It held up way better than I thought it would after that news came out. And also, man, some areas right now where money's piling into is getting a little crowded. Okay, it's getting a little crowded, and when stuff gets crowded, usually the opposite happens. But I at least want to make sure you're aware of it and stuff. And then something else that somebody else is actually buying into this rally as well, which you need to make sure you pay attention to. Which means I pay attention to it for you. And I don't know if you remember, but I told you hedge fund managers were going to have to play catch up, or they were going to get fired. And so far now, you have seen 15 consecutive weeks of inflows for large cap ETFs. That window dressing, look at what we got. Oh, we own this now. We own Nvidia. We own Tesla. We own Microsoft and Apple. And look how much better our gains are with this window dressing, right? And you're going to see nearly 15 billion was up from the prior week's gain of nearly 13 billion right there. And so people are piling into this. Is one of those things where I'm saying, boy, and I think I even showed you like around the world, how much is being moved into these kind of stocks and everything, and the dips just keep getting bought up over and over and over. And one of the crowdest trades I've seen, or investments, whatever you want to call it, man, investors all in on tech and the AI trade. And look at that chart right there. That is the net speculative positioning in the NASDAQ 100 by asset managers and leveraged funds. Straight up she goes there. What could possibly go wrong with that? I mean, it's just every time you see a chart, you're like, wow, anything can get any crazier? Yep, it's getting crazier, right? And this is just people piling in. Who else is buying in, though? You still got HYG, smart money, right? It's green today. And one thing that's important, I keep telling you guys about this one, and I'll show it to you for those who are new. Sometimes it will lead the way, up or down, right? And what's really cool about this, look back here. Remember, there's a SPY, bottom on October 27th. Who was buying it before, though? It was HYG, 4 days before that. They were already moving up by the time SPY moved up. And then if you look back at 2021, before we had the massive sell-off, it was warning. It was warning for like weeks on end because it was getting lower highs in there, right? Lower lows, saying this ain't looking good. And what was SPY doing? It was making higher highs, right? It was going up. And then, of course, you get the massive dump. So it can give you warnings both ways. So and as long as they're in it, don't mean they can't be wrong. But as long as they're in it, it's a pretty good indicator we could probably be going higher because it is the bond market, right? Now, just look at what's going on with options. Man, the average daily options volume continues to just skyrocket. I mean, look at that one. It's just this straight up charts, right? Shares of option volume that expire in 5 or fewer days. These are these 0 DTE options, the weekly options you can play on Tesla and the rest of those, like Nvidia and stuff. Continues to set an all-time new high in 2023 this year, by the way, of that around like almost 50% options are 5 days or less now, okay? What else is happening here? It's Tesla. This is why I tell you Tesla is the most popular traded stock. That's why you have to watch the options flow, and I'll show you what happened today with Tesla because it's number one. It beats the SPY, which you would think is the number one, but no, it's Tesla just because of those premiums, right? And so people buying, selling. It's all about Tesla. Look at Nvidia. Nvidia is the AI king. Nowhere close. Can't even touch it. They put over $500 billion in 2023 into Tesla when it comes to premium this year. All right. And what else is happening? Option selling is booming, and it ain't got nothing to do with us. It's got to do with assets and derivative incomes funds have jumped to a record $64 billion. That's a 50% jump just from last year. Look at that chart right there. Okay, and I mean, just look how it's been jumped since 2020. These are very popular now. And that's why I keep telling everybody, even on an individual level, learn to sell options somehow, some way. Be conservative on it. It's just basically free money if you know how to do it and take a conservative approach for it. And you can be more aggressive. But this is what I'm talking about when Tesla comes in. A lot of people love to sell those cash secured puts because you can get so much premium for them if you do it at the right time and stuff and close it out way earlier than what the expiration date is. Now, big thing to look at when it comes to Tesla here. And real quick, guys, if you can go ahead and hit that like button for me, help people find this video, I really appreciate it. And if you want to give me a double help today, you can hit that subscribe button if you like the content. As it fell out of that wedge today immediately, and there was some news that come out, which I'm going to show you, which I think was used to actually push this down. But what do we talk about? That right there, anywhere between 231, 233.91, man. It's absolutely been solid since I think like November 13th, if I'm not mistaken. So about almost a month now. That has been the support, and it bounced immediately. Now, of course, that trend line, which made up that wedge, will be resistance. If we also look at the moving averages, you can see the 50 moving average also helps the support. So you got some confluence right there happening on Tesla. And of course, what do we always look for? When you get any kind of bounce on Tesla, if it's any meaningful, we'll see if this works out or not. It's the flows, right? So you're sitting here with the call flows, the call sweeps, and the millions coming in. This was after probably, I think it was around 1 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, when I got this alert right here. And so, of course, that moves it up. Now, the news that drove Tesla down was used to, I think, really was this right here. It says Tesla China registrations fall. And you can see they fell about 10%. So, of course, that right there, I think, was what was used to really push this down. And then, of course, the call flows start coming in once it hits that support and moves it back up. We'll see where it goes from here and everything. Now, Meta, good day for Meta, up over 2%. I want to see if it can get a candle close above this right here trend line now that we have 3 touches on it. And, when you look at this, it's kind of like a wedge right there, right? So we'll see if it either comes back down or tomorrow finally sets us up to start the Santa Claus rally, the last push that goes up and stuff. And when you look at the weekly, I mean, again, if it breaks above that, 354 is going to be its next target. And then, of course, above that's all-time highs. So, after a 300% move, what's another 15%, Now, Google surprised me that it held up as well as it did after the news that came out. And I'll share that in just a minute. But you can see this one right here. It's sitting in at 100 as resistance right there. The 50 is going to be resistance. And you also see something you don't see on a lot of the other mega caps. And that is lower highs right there, right? So it keeps setting these lower highs, even though it does set higher lows, of course, as we can see. But if it continues to close out this week with another lower high, right? And of course, if we really look at this, what is this? It's just wedging is what it's doing, okay? And of course, real quick, the news, I think it was out of California. They lost the antitrust case against the company that makes like the most popular video game, having something to do with the Android app and all this stuff, and could possibly lose them billions in revenue. I mean, that's what we got to figure out. And so we'll see. I think they're waiting on the judge to make their final decision of what's going to happen and stuff. But if they have to open up to more competition, obviously that could hurt revenue. So we'll just have to see what that's going to do there. But again, also being in that wedge, it's going to be making a move pretty dang soon. Now, Amazon, you can see this right here, just consolidate, man. It's just coiling up for whatever move it plans on making here. As you can see, little, bearish divergence always in the RSI where you just see it's going down. While Tesla's kind of trading sideways here. But, a lot of people expecting this to absolutely explode up. And that will not surprise me a bit. Now, AMD, almost to the penny. It missed 140 by 60 cents. That's the level we talked about yesterday it'd be going for. I did not think it would make it today. But, of course, where are we getting these levels from? You can see right there. That's the one level. The next level you're going to see if it busts through that, which would be just crazy if it keeps going. But if it does, you look at 152.23. And then above that, it's going to be 156.77. Now, you would think this thing would take a break at some point in time, move back down to what was the supply area, make it into a demand area, and then come up and see if it can retest the 140 to push through. The way this one's going, the way Semiconductor is going, I'm not even going to try to predict this one. And what I mean by that is look at the volume. If we pull up the volume, you can see this is not us pushing this up. Like this is big money is flowing into this one right here, right? Those are big green candles. That's the daily right there, as you can see. And when we pull up the hourly, you can see it even more what I'm talking about here, because you don't see green candles like this in the hourly for quite a while. And you see the hourly, see those gigantic green candles on this latest push up? Look to the left. You don't see that, okay? And so that's big money rolling in that one right there. Now, the fintechs, like you see PayPal broke out of this channel, right? And it just went sideways. It's not like it's breaking down and falling down or anything. But one thing I'm noticing here is these fintechs are starting to finally, hopefully, what we call base out, like finally trying to build support up here. And so it's trading sideways. You can see in PayPal, like since basically the whole month of December here, and you can see it better on the hourly. And so, and this is actually a healthy thing if that's what it's actually doing and not rolling over would be the case, because that 100 moving average has been a brick wall for it, as you can see, and that anchor VWAP from July. So like we talked about, a lot of resistance there, right? But, you know, looking at this, it has broken out of that channel. Now that line, that trend line will become resistance, but we'll see if it's like 57, 50-ish, somewhere in there, whatever. If that's what it's trying to base out for support before making a higher move up, if that's going to be the case. So far, you're seeing the same thing. Nice move up. Now it's kind of just consolidating this little area right here, which is what you want to see. I'm going to move this down. So maybe you're looking around 785 is like a key support level now. And again, this has had a big move up very quietly, right? Just moving up, was it 31% in 14 days? You know, that's a big move for any stock. And so this is what you want to see if you want to move higher. All right, Square seems like it's trying to do it still, though. This has been on that parabolic move of its right here, as you can see. I believe, what is it, 72%, been oversold for just, I don't know, it seems like weeks on end here. But, you know, major move up like this, at some point in time, it's going to consolidate, 77%, excuse me. And so that is a major, major move for a beaten down stock. So you'd like to see, you know, maybe it bases out between 62, 64, somewhere in there. That would be good before you start to move up. And I'm starting to see these in all these fintechs now. And then I will say this, oil, which I rarely talk about, but I'll say this, my call on oil is going to be like 66.50, somewhere in there. I think is where we're going to get the bounce. I mean, it just makes sense because you got that long-term trend line that goes back 25 years. You got the horizontal support line, which has bounced off of or been resistance for quite a while. And so that would just be a great place for this thing to actually bounce. And so again, we'll see, you can see that trend that goes back to 1998. I mean, it bounced the dot-com bubble, the 08 crash. And so, you know, we'll see if it holds up. But that would be a great place to bounce because the oil stocks, I think all of them hit like new 52-week lows, right? Now, as far as earnings, Adobe's the only one that really matters. And, you know, we'll see how they do. And then, of course, economic data, core PPI month over month, year over year will come out pre-market. And, of course, then you'll have PPI month over month and year over year. And then, of course, the only thing that really matters after this is going to be the FOMC meeting. 2 o'clock is when you'll get the data coming out, and then 2:30 is when Jerome Powell is going to open up his mouth. Now, of course, I think they'll shock everybody if they do a rate hike, which they've been over backwards not to. It's like a 99% chance that, you know, it's forecasted they're not going to do a rate hike. Okay, and I'm sure, I would think he's going to come out and say, well, you know, we're data dependent and don't mean we won't do a rate hike in January. February, they're skipping, I believe. They don't have a meeting, and then March is the next one. So, you know, again, I'll be stunned. And of course, you know, the market's going to go crazy up or down as soon as he says hello and everything. And usually the initial movement is not the true movement. So, you know, let me know what you think down in the bottom and stuff. But again, if they pause, I think everybody knows, unless something crazy happens with CPI, because core is what is sticky, right? If oil comes down and actually bounces and gets a legitimate bounce, and the monopoly, or the cartel, excuse me, the oil cartel that is, decides they want to try to manipulate prices higher again, obviously that's not good, right? If commodities actually do get a bounce, that's not good for any kind of input cost, right? And so that's what we got to look at right here. Again, let me know what you think down the bottom and stuff. And so, because they don't, the one thing the Fed doesn't want, they don't want to be these people. They were really, as far as I'm concerned, they wasn't the cause of inflation, but they didn't stop it. It got as high as it did because they wouldn't step in and do anything because it was transitory for a whole year. Right, they waited. It got to like 8.5 before they ever did a rate hike, I believe it was, which is just crazy. And then they decided just to jack the rates through the roof like they'd never done before. So just a hot mess there. And so they don't want to be known as the Fed where we go through the 70s again, where all of a sudden it comes back. You know, and they don't want core to be stuck between 4 and 5%. That just is unsustainable for a whole lot of reasons. Okay, so. Anyway, let me know what you think down the bottom, guys. Appreciate it. Hit that like and subscribe button. And thank you for all who watch. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Hope you have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.